Will you please make the voters say for our Eastern listeners, good evening, radio audience. And now for our Western listeners, say, good afternoon, radio audience. Good afternoon, radio audience.
This month's Electronic Soup podcast comes in two flavours, skinny or full fat. Both feature Dark from audiogames.net and his choice of 3 outstanding, deeper audio games.
You have chosen the skinny version.
Hello, good morning. This is Luke, probably more commonly known as Dark, at least around the internet. Yes, it's me that's responsible for sticking all the random rubbish on AudioGamesNet. You now know who to blame. Now, Barrie has asked me to come and talk to you today about audio games, and more specifically about some of the more complex audio games that have been produced recently. For a very, very long time, indeed for quite a lot longer than I've been playing audio games, most of the games that have been produced, it's not fair to say all, but a good many of them, have been fairly simple. They've either been sort of arcade-style affairs, where you need to react quickly and rack up a high score, or they've been audio adaptations of fairly traditional games, card games, puzzle games, word games, that sort of thing. And not that there's anything wrong with having games of those sorts of types, but there has been this problem that something more complex hasn't been available. Now, of course, there have been for a good long while, indeed I was playing them before I was playing audio games, a variety of games that can be played with a screen reader that are more complex. Things like interactive fiction or MUDs or games played in a web browser. But these are, fairly limited in a lot of, well, they have various limits. The biggest one, of course, being that they only use text. There's also various multiplayer problems, but that's a subject for another day. So there really hasn't been anything that a player can really sort of get into in audio, anything with a sort of lot of atmosphere and plot and a lot of complex actions that can be taken in the game, games that really draw the player in and keep the player going, where of course in the mainstream there's been these sorts of things, going right from the 1980s onwards. However, I am pleased to say that this situation is very much changing, and indeed when Barrie asked me to pick 3 games to demonstrate to you, I was quite spoiled for choice, because I couldn't think of which 3 games to show, because there have been so many produced recently that are really quite fantastic in terms of their ambience and their replayability and how complex they are. And indeed, if anyone is interested in this sort of thing, I would urge them to go and check out the database at AudioGamesNet, or indeed the larger list of websites at pcsgames.net, and just have a look through them and look for some of these, audio games, because audio games are becoming a lot more interesting and more complex. Okay, advertisement over. I will try not to advertise anymore. So, what games do we have today?
Game 1.
Mysteries of the Ancients, produced by Thomas Ward of USA Games. It's an audio side-scrolling adventure game. In this game, you play an archaeologist, Dr. Angela Carter, and you are doing a sort of Indiana Jones-esque infiltration of a tomb to try and retrieve the Orb of Wisdom.
Game 2.
And this is the game Entombed, which is the first ever audio RPG. Now, essentially, this is a randomly generating dungeon RPG entirely in audio.
Game 3.
And this game is an audio war strategy game. It's called Time of Conflict, and it is a game from GMA Games.
To hear these games in action, pop over to DaveBainesAccess.com or to the lovely www.gamebase.info. Bye for now.
Bye.